You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome to Cards to the Moon. For our loyal listeners, no, it's not a Tuesday or a repeat episode. It's Friday, and yes, we are going to be coming out with a second episode every other week to start. My name is Clark, and with me co-hosting is Hyung and John. And we're so grateful for the awesome feedback we've been getting from you listeners. We see all of your comments, whether it's a review you left us on Apple Podcasts or a good rating on Spotify. We also love getting questions from you guys on our Instagram page at Cards to the Moon. So that's actually one of the reasons why we wanted to add a second episode, because it gives us an opportunity to go a little more in depth on certain hobby topics or to answer good audience questions and feedback we've been getting a lot more these days. And plus, we hope to set up more interviews with people in the hobby and air them on this Friday episode. More likely, the Friday episodes will be a bit shorter than our regular Tuesday episodes, but we hope it'll still provide good value for you guys nonetheless. Okay, so for this inaugural Friday episode, we are going to do a segment that we did a couple of weeks ago on our regular Tuesday episode, which we called Data Dive. And in our first Data Dive segment, we got a top 10 list of active NHL players with the highest career average points per game. And we used that particular statistic just to see who the consistent career scorers are in the league playing right now. And we went through the list to see if we thought any of those players were underrated or overrated or properly rated in the hobby. We're going to do the same for today's segment, but instead it'll be the top 10 list of active NBA players with the highest career average points per game. So to start is Kevin Durant, who is currently number 1 on our active list and number 4 overall. What do you guys think?
He's a buy for me. Buy both chrome and paper. I think they're both cheap. Yeah. So it's no question. He's a buy. I think his prices are way cheap compared to someone like LeBron, let's just say. So sure. I think KD is a buy. I think his chrome is under 25. I want to say, I could be wrong. 2,500. His top's chrome. Yep. PSA 10. I think that's a very, very reasonable price for a caliber player like Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Right. Man, I think at one point or another, we were talking about how it's a buy at $4,000.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I remember.
I think we're just a buy. We're just a buy in general. buy it. Just keep buying.
Kevin Durant.
Dollar cast average.
Kevin Durant is definitely a buy. I agree. I've mentioned this many times, and he's a very polarizing player. Yeah. For many reasons, like the burner Twitter accounts, and he can be very petty at times. It looks like he's maturing a lot. Like some of his humor is a lot more self-deprecating these days rather than being like supremely defensive. So that's kind of good to see. But in general, like I think he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. So he's not as likable as somebody of his caliber versus maybe Steph Curry, right? But Kevin Durant, I mean, you cannot deny that he's one of the most special players you've ever watched play the game. Like, he's ridiculous. And I personally think when all is said and done, he should be firmly in the top 15 all time, maybe flirting definitely inside the top 10. Like, I think he's that ridiculously amazing. So to talk about somebody that I think is easily going to be in the top 15 all time, his card is a buy for sure. As much as I don't personally, I'm not a big KD fan, I still think he's a buy.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, like, when you mentioned that when his top's chrome was around 4,000, we're saying he's a buy because of his talent and not because of his off-court antics. Right. Like the market being where it is now, like it's a no-brainer. I think we're all aligned in that even he still has that kind of image of where he's polarizing, where people just don't like him. But at the end of the day, you look at his stats, like I know several pundits, basketball guys that put KD as one of the greatest shooters of all time. Like currently playing in the game, and it's not even close, right? And just he could do everything, right? Go to the rim and shoot from the outside, and
unstoppable. You can't stop his jump shot.
Yeah, it's exactly. And I agree with you with his. I've been seeing some of his later interviews, definitely more mellowed out, and his podcast interviews with other shows. Yeah, he's just a little bit more personable now, so that's always a good thing. All right, we'll go on to number 2. We kind of mentioned him. His name is LeBron James, number 5 overall, right behind KD right now.
Oh boy. I'm gonna say buy value, hold high end. So,
okay. What's value?
There's value. For instance, there would be, I think, like a pristine refractor, for instance.
Right.
Could be a good buy if the prices dip below a certain amount, like 4K or something, a PSA 10. So I think there's value in secondary cards. So obviously, his Topps Chrome refractors and any colors are out of question, right? His Topps Chrome, I believe, is somewhat cheap at 9K, but it's still expensive. So I don't think it's a sell because I don't think it's crazy amount. I don't think it's a buy because it's still 9K for Topps Chrome. It might go up, it might go down. We've seen it as high as like 15, 20K for the Topps Chrome, right? So I think there's better value in LeBron in alternate cards. So I'm saying buy the value and basically hold or don't sell the Topps Chrome and the kind of like the higher end stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. LeBron his cards don't move based on performance. Obviously, he has now firmly cemented his legacy, and he is a key indicator on the basketball market as a whole, right? So if you're an investor or if you're a collector and you're looking to profit, it's guys like LeBron, Steph, Luka. Those will be like key indicators on where the basketball market is as a whole.
Right.
And if you firmly believe, like we believe, that the basketball market is really low, it's down. I think LeBron being LeBron and being an indicator, I think he is definitely a buy in that instance. And, there's maybe there won't be as much volatility, but there's no better investment. We're talking blue chip, man. This is rock solid. You will lose money because the basketball market continues to tank. You're not going to lose money on LeBron James himself. So at some point, this basketball market is going to rebound, and you're going to reap the rewards with your money invested in LeBron. There's nothing wrong. As much as I am a hater, but from an investment standpoint, there's nothing wrong with putting money into LeBron James.
Yeah. No, and I'll be quick. I'm perfectly aligned with what you said, John. Like at this time in the market, you go after the blue chips because this might be your best opportunity to get one in your portfolio, so to speak, right? So LeBron obviously is in that category. And Topps Chrome, we even debated, like, will it go under 10K? It's under 10K now. So, I think maybe it'll go down to 8, maybe 7. But you're right. If you believe in basketball cards, generally speaking, when it does rebound, those LeBron cards aren't going to stay at that 7, 8, 9K level. It's going to go right back over 10 and even higher. Right. So I think LeBron, believe it or not, is a buy as well in this, where we are in the market currently. Okay, number 3. This might be a little bit more polarizing. James Harden, number 3 points per game, 12th overall.
I'm saying same thing. Buy value, hold high end. I think his Topps Chrome is numbered to $9.99. I think it's cheap based on the type of player Harden is. Obviously, the question is, will he ever win a championship? And I think that's on people's minds, but that could change a lot too. So I think Harden has established his career pretty nicely. If you look at what he's accomplished, it's pretty impressive. I think one season he averaged like 34 points a game, which is like insane with Houston. And when you look back and see, Harden's going to map out a pretty good career, and based on his prices, like his Topps Chrome number to $9.99 is very affordable. I don't know what the comps are on there, but compared to kind of like where he is, you have him number 12, I guess, or is that
overall? Yeah,
overall, yeah, in active players. So like to me, that's pretty special still. And based on his prices, it's kind of like same situation as KD, where I think his prices are low based on what he's accomplished. So I'm going to say he's a buy as well.
Okay.
I'm opposite, man. I am not touching James Harden. He is a sell. He is, he's absolutely polarizing. I think there's a lot of people like myself who are not a fan of James Harden. There's no question he is one of the most talented basketball players we have ever seen. He's up there with the best of them in terms of prolific scoring. But I don't see Harden. He's just not the type of player that I believe in, me personally, that can win championships. He's not that player. Yeah, he can be... He would have been a potential third piece or second piece to the New Jersey Nets, and he could have won a championship. Mm-hmm. But he just seems like everywhere he goes, like he's just kind of like poison. Like wherever he goes, he's the poison that comes into the room. Because we've seen it. Like he plays like the me basketball. Like that's the nickname of T-Mac back in the day, Me-Mac, right? Like he plays me basketball, and even at a veteran age, he hasn't really changed. He still kind of plays me basketball. So I don't see him the type to be winning championships and or changing people's minds to like him and really, get on board with James Harden. So for me, I think we mentioned this earlier in a couple of other episodes. I think when Philly, they could make some big noise in the playoffs. And let's say they sweep first round and people start believing, hey, I think Harden and Embiid are real contenders. They're not fakers. I think they can go all the way. I think that's the time you take your Harden cards and you sell. Unless, you're like the biggest James Harden fan. What are you going to do? But for me, this playoff coming up, when they, I think they'll win their first round series. And if they do, and if they win it handily and people start believing in them, that is a great opportunity to get out of James Harden.
Yeah. Get out. Yeah. Burn his cards. Sell.
You know what? Like, if you asked me this question before he went on the Nets, you start to really believe that James Harden really wants to win a championship. Like, this is his best opportunity. But then after the whole Brooklyn Nets, his tenure there and just the way it ended, and, everyone knows he's requested again, even though it's not official. He probably requested to get out of the team, and it just kind of says a lot about the player to me, and the first two games he played amazing for Philly, and then even like lately there's questions again about like, oh, how committed is he to the team? How committed is he to actually being in shape and playing ball, to win? So I don't know. I've just had enough of Harden myself too. Like I honestly was looking to buy his rookie cards a year or 2 years ago. I loved the value, but now it's like, man, if I don't know which Harden I'm going to get at any point, it's just too risky, and I'm out on Harden as well. Although like a lot of the stats why he's number 3 on the active list, like you said, Hyung, was his days in Houston when he's putting 40-50 a game in every other game. Like, it was ridiculous.
And it's crazy you guys say that, because I felt the exact same way as Harden as you guys did when he was at Houston. When he was in Houston. That's why I actually didn't like him, because Houston is like my second home, and I was a huge Rockets fan as well. So I had to actually endure and watch Harden, and he pissed me off more than anything. Right. But I got over it. The emotions are gone now. I just see Harden as an objective player, and I just see it's an impressive career.
It is.
That's where I'm looking at it from. Emotions aside, but I agree. I can't stand Harden. I couldn't stand Harden. I could stand him now. You know what? They're all athletes.
But he's out of sight, out of mind, because you're not watching any Nets games or Philly games, though. Yeah.
You're right, but at the end of the day, for me, it's the card. People will look back 10 years from now, and you look at any type of player that had a great career. Is he a Hall of Famer? These are the questions that you ask. Does he warrant Hall of Fame? 10 plus years as an all-star. Like, all these accolades, I think, are just kind of like, if you audit it, I think there's extreme value. But yeah, I 100% agree with you. I can't stand him.
All right. With that, let's go on to number 4 on the active list and 15 overall, Damian Lillard.
I'm a sell on Lillard.
Okay.
So for me, he's in that lull period So
Right.
I'm gonna see right now. He's put up a couple impressive seasons, and then you guys mentioned about like the team, for instance. Being in Portland, does it affect his prices? Is he, you know what I mean? Stuff like that, where big market team. So for me, I'm off Lillard. I think he's an incredible basketball player. I just think he has 3 or 4 more years to consider to see where he goes in his career. I think he's still young. Still has some years, so he's in that like middle period. We'll see in the next few years. It's like almost like a Russell Westbrook for me. Like, you're gonna get good seasons in the mid, and then it just starts tapering off towards that 10th season, right? Yeah. So that's what worries about me with Lillard. So I'm off Lillard. I'm a sell.
Okay, that's fair.
Man, Lillard is a tough one because he started off rough this season. I don't know if you guys watch any of his games, but his shooting percentage, he was just breaking everything. And I don't know if that had to do with maybe a lingering injury or if he was just off, or is this the sign of, the downturn of Lillard in terms of in the NBA stratosphere? I don't know. I 100% agree. He's in the lull. And we talked about this, Clark, you mentioned this like in one of our earliest episodes about what can Lillard do to boost his value. This guy's hitting game-winning shots after game-winning shots, clutch, and his card value is not really moving, right? And now the market is completely down. It's tough, man. You know what? I'm gonna take the stance of Clark's Donovan Mitchell take. And I'm going to say 51% to 49. I'm going to say Lillard's a buy. You've got one last chance at Lillard. You're going to take that shot. You're going to buy when nobody else is buying. And I think you just kind of hope that he moves out of Portland and he goes to like a big scene. Like he'll go to the Lakers or something wild will happen. It's not out of the question. I think it could definitely happen. So I don't think it's a horrible move to move some money into Lillard in hopes that something will spark, because he still has, I personally believe, I think he's got a lot left in the tank. He's shown he's clutch. He's shown he's big time. He's exciting. He's got it, but he's one of those players that, I don't know, just maybe it's Portland. Like Portland's just too boring and not exciting enough of a team. So I could see him being a risk purchase. So I'll say 51% he's a buy.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think, we talked about this in previous episodes for sure. And you're right. I always say, like, what does Lillard have to do for his prices to go up, for people to respect him as a player? And I don't know. I don't think he's going to get out of Portland. I'm not as confident. So for that reason, that being said, I just looked at his Prism rookie PSA 10s.
How much is it going for?
Just over 400 now. So you know what? I'll take a flyer at that price point.
Right?
Yeah, at 400.
There you go.
So like I was gonna say, like 500 is kind of my mark. If it's over 5, I'm like, I don't know, maybe reinvest that somewhere else. But I'm just hoping he comes back healthy. Maybe puts up at least one more really great season, and that might be a time to profit off of him. But at 400, sure, why not? Flyer pick.
It is, and it's a 2012 Prism, right? So first year Prism.
Yeah,
so I think long term there is some
sure.
allure on that. So yeah, I see at the price point it's pretty decent. $400 is pretty cheap, and Prism was pretty low printed back then, eh?
Very true. Yeah.
Okay. It was fun to watch Clark just change his opinion. I really think he's one of those lull players. Wait a minute, $400? No, I believe in Lillard. He's gonna make a comeback.
That's exactly what happened while we're recording this podcast. I'm like looking at eBay while we're. Okay, number 5. I think this might be a sweep. Stephen Curry, buy or sell?
I think he's a buy for me. Like for me, obviously there's pricing that is unaffordable on some of his numbered cards, but I think you could get affordable numbered cards still with like his 48 Bowman, blue, and stuff like that, where it's numbered but it's not as desired. So I think there's a lot of value still in certain cards. So I'm gonna say he's a buy. even at the top level point, it's kind of like what you mentioned with LeBron James, that type of player where it's regardless. Steph Curry, I think he's solidified a Hall of Fame career. He's gonna go down as the all-time 3-point shooter, and I don't think anybody's gonna come close. You know what I mean. So I think he's gonna put down his legacy within the next 5 years, where it's going to be an unbelievable career. So I'm saying it's a buy time for Steph Curry if you could afford it.
Mm-hmm. John?
Steph Curry, I think he's starting to form an opinion on many people's minds of starting to squeak into the top 10 all time. I'm one of those opinions, but I will say I think he's a sell for now. He's cemented his legacy. He's a buy overall, but right now I think he's a sell. And I say this because we talked about the market as a whole, basketball, right? So basketball market is down, but there's a couple of key characters that have gone up while the market is down, which to me will indicate some kind of correction. So one is Ja Morant, and I think the other is Steph Curry. So if you are 100% in on Steph Curry and you want to buy badly, I think there is going to be a better timing. There's going to be a time where you can get, I think right now he's a bit too high, and I'm sure his shooting percentage over the last 20 games has been pretty poor. I'm sure I haven't checked up on his card prices, but I'm sure they've, cooled off since the craziness. But I could see in the offseason, especially if Golden State doesn't win, I could see his card market cooling back to normalization of the rest of the basketball market. So there will be an opportunity to buy at some point, but right now I think he's a sell.
Okay. I'm a little surprised by that. I think that's a risky game to play with Steph Curry.
It's true. He does have low numbered rookie cards. That is a good point.
He does. And I've been trying to Steph Curry's always on my watch list, and it's been pretty stagnant. It hasn't gone down, hasn't gone up, especially during his lull in playing right now, or his the way he's playing right now. But still, it's not dumping by any means. So so this might be the best time, and I'm all in on Steph Curry. Whatever you can afford, I'm with Hyung. Same thing. Generational player, cemented his legacy already, and even beyond his contribution to even beyond what he's done in terms of points, his contribution to the game can't be denied. For
sure,
the way he's changed the game.
He's changed the game flat out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be a huge factor in his future card prices. Okay, number 6. This might be point of contention. Anthony Davis, 21 overall.
He's a sell for me too. He worries me a bit. He's the exact same reason with Lillard. He needs 5 more good years before I could see a positive uptick in his prices. It worries me a lot, to be honest. So I'm a sell. But you have to monitor prices and see when that breaking point is, right? So if his prism starts going down a lot, I think he's 2012 as well. So I think it's a cool set from a hobby perspective. Anybody in 2012 I think is a buy in general, but from an investment standpoint, if you're not into all that jazz, I think Anthony Davis is a sell for me.
Okay.
Ooh, this is a tough one because Anthony Davis has come down a lot and he's so cheap. And when he is playing, he is absolutely one of the elite stars in the game. The problem with Davis, and Hyung touched on this, is that I don't know if he's ever had a healthy season. He's kind of consistently playing 65 to 75 games. And now he's played quite a bit. He's 10 years in the league or 13 years in the league. Mm-hmm. And you can't imagine out of nowhere, after all of those injury-riddled seasons, he's going to all of a sudden start playing 82 games on the regular. I don't see that happening, especially in the new world of, game management and injury management. So this is tough. I still think he's elite, but the problem with Davis, and I think I'm going to pick sell as well, is this is the first year where people kind of turned on Davis. They're even Laker fans, right? Every year people were high on Davis, even if he was getting injured. he was putting up monstrous numbers, and people were saying like, "Oh, Davis is better than Tim Duncan. Come at me, say something about it."
Right.
And people like, I heard that so much. They're like, "He's better than Tim Duncan." He's like, "Come on, are you serious?" And where are those people now? Like, where are you now talking about Anthony Davis is better than Tim Duncan? So this year especially, like, I don't know if it was because of lingering injuries that we didn't know of, but when LeBron wasn't around, when he was sitting off a couple of games, and the Laker fans relied on Anthony Davis to take charge. Hey, LeBron's going to leave in 2 years. This is your team. Show up. Like, show us that this is your team. And the guy would be, he'd go 2 for 17 with like 12 points and 9, And then this is where Lakers fans kind of turned on him, and best basketball fans in general. I think this is the first year we saw people turn on Anthony Davis. So that makes me worried. Injury, people turning on him in terms of what they think of him. I don't know. I think he's a sell too.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a sell sweep. Like, to your point, the injury concerns are a big factor. And I was listening to Bill Simmons' podcast, and he was mentioning how Anthony Davis's style of game has changed. Like, he's playing like a big, like he's put on weight. He's playing like a big guy, and that's a cause for concern for some, that'll lead to more injuries, like just really getting in there, banging his way
right
in the paint, and some people just prefer that he just like maybe slim down a little and become a better shooter, and have a more diverse game rather than he's a huge guy, right? So I think those injury concerns will be one of those things that will be ongoing for the foreseeable future, and for that reason, he's a sell. And I just checked his prison prices. Like, you're right, it's dropped to about $350 for a PSA 10 base 2012, so it's cheap. But if you look at his silver, he does have a silver prism, that's still like around $5K, and that's too much. That's way too much for a guy like Davis. All right, let's go on to number 7, Devin Booker, Phoenix Suns, 23rd overall.
Oh man, Booker, I think I think he's interesting because he's younger, so I think prices are already high with him because he has that like hype. But then I could see his prices go bonkers if he does bring home a championship. I think you've seen it a little bit last year in the playoffs with Phoenix, making a run, and Booker's prices did, see some, volatility. So I could see it doing the same thing this year if Phoenix can, put it together. But I think his prices are high. So I think if you have, it might be a good time to sell. Especially in the playoff in the playoff push. But I'm a hold sell. I'm not a buy right now on Booker, even though there's some cards of his that are decent buys. But I think for the majority of the part, he's overpriced. Is he going to put up a good career? Absolutely. I just think he's super young. He's entering that 4 or 5 year period where the whole episode was on this, the lull, right? So I think his prices are gonna go stagnant for a while, no matter what he does, right? Unless he consistently does it. So I'm gonna say he's a sell.
Sure.
Yeah. I personally love Devin Booker. On a personal level, I would love to. I don't have any of his cards, surprisingly. I've always wanted.
Expensive.
But they are expensive.
Yeah.
But Devin Booker is absolutely in that middle pie where the hype is gone. It's set, and now he's at the stage where he needs to start proving either he's going to start winning championships or start winning MVPs or something, where we're starting to see that Hall of Fame trajectory, right? So he's right in that meaty part, and I still think he's going to do it. I think he can potentially have some MVP seasons. I believe in Booker. But as much as I do, I will go with Hyung, and I will say for now, he's a sell. I think you can get back into him, but there is going to be some hype right now. Basketball market, I think, is kind of making a bit of a comeback. And with the Suns being as good as they are, people are going to believe, hey, Booker and Chris Paul might have a chance to win it here, and that could maybe elevate some hype. So I think it's a good opportunity to try to take advantage of that. And then long term, I would say I'm a buy on Devin Booker long term. But for now, sell.
Yeah. I was looking at Devin Booker rookie cards when I first got back into the hobby 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know why I didn't pull the trigger, but that was the time to pull the trigger, right?
Totally.
That was the time. And you guys are right. Like the prices are all baked in now. Like if he wins a championship, I don't know how much further up it would go,
right?
Because it's kind of baked in, and I think like his career numbers are a little bit baked in already too. Like it might see an increase, but not by as much as some might think. Based on his prices alone for his like higher end cards. So yeah, I'm aligned with you guys. He's a sell if you have him, or at least hold until his career is said and done. Okay, number 8. I think we could just skip John's opinion on this, but number 8 is Karl Anthony Towns, 26 overall. Actually, let's hear. Go ahead.
No, I'm gonna agree with John here. I think he's a buy. At 100. Oh, sorry, did John not go? I know his end, but for me, Prisms. I bought 2 Prisms for $175 PSA 10s, which is so ridiculous, right? Like the caliber talent that cat is. I think he's super cheap, so I'm gonna say he's a buy. But again, it's gonna go into that. I don't expect crazy extreme volatility. For all the reasons we talked about. Team and all the. In the past episodes, we talked about Karl Anthony Towns, why he's underrated, and we don't see any love. He drops 50 a game. It's just like nothing, right? Like you don't really see the price action on his cards, which worries me, right? It's like during that 5 to 10 year period, whether they're gonna cement themselves as a Hall of Famer or not, that's the time where it's gonna sit sideways. Right, prices, right? So he's in that same category, but I think he's cheap enough where you as he establishes a good career, his Prism's just gonna keep on creeping up, and even his high end stuff like his tie dye. I know John has a couple of his tie dyes in Select. I think those are great long term plays, like because they're so cheap.
Yeah,
they're so cheap, right? So yeah, I'm a buy on Karl Anthony Towns, but like I said, if it's gonna be a buy, it's gonna be probably long term. Just forget about it and enjoy kind of his career.
I was close to picking up one of his NT rookie patch autos. Overall, went for like
that's crazy,
1,300 or
that's
something
crazy.
ridiculous.
I know that's so cheap for
it's ridiculous.
NTRPA. Yeah. So you're a buy.
Yeah, I think everybody people who have been listening to this pod, you're probably sick of my voice talking about Karl Anthony Towns. He's obviously a buy for me. I think his risk appetite is just completely, at this point, I think everybody understands, it's just based on the team now. Mm-hmm. It's wherever Karl Anthony Towns is. So if you're the type that believes Minnesota is going to become good with Anthony Edwards, then he's a good candidate for investment on return. If you're the type that thinks Karl Anthony Towns will get traded, that's another one. Because his in real world, his who he is as a player, in fantasy, he's top 3. Like he is up there with the elites all around and very underrated. So, that's enough. That's enough about Karl Anthony Towns. He's absolutely a buy for me. Yeah,
I don't know if it's because John's been talking about Cat for so long that he's starting to convert me. But and his prices being so cheap for his talent. Yeah, he's a buy for me too. And another big part of it is what you just mentioned, John. Like, I'm beginning to believe in the Minnesota Timberwolves. Like they're becoming this exciting team. Like when we started recording this podcast last summer, I'm like, the Timberwolves, he's got to get out. He's got to get out of Minnesota. I love Anthony Edwards.
That was pre Anthony Edwards, right?
Yeah, I think there's an episode where I talked about Timberwolves making the playoffs as a hot take. Like it's coming alive, man. It's crazy.
You're right on. And like even the last game or one of the recent games with the Lakers, it seemed like they were just having fun, just bashing the Lakers, and they got some swag. Like I like that. I like teams that play like that. So everything's trending upwards for me in terms of the Timberwolves and in terms of Karl Anthony Towns. Okay, Let's finish off this list with number 9 and 10. Number 9 is Kyrie Irving, 27 overall. He might be polarizing.
This one's tough
as well.
Yeah, this one's tough for me. Man, I like Kyrie. I really like him as a player, but I'm a sell, to be honest, just because I feel like he's gonna fall into that kind of like Dwayne Wade type, where he doesn't get the love in the long term. I think again, he's 29 years old, 30 years old. I'll have to see in the next 3-4 years what Kyrie does in terms of his career. I think it's going to go sideways. Like if you look at like Dwayne Wade's Topps Chrome, it's sitting sideways, if not retracting still. And Dwayne Wade has had a phenomenal career, right? So
he's such an underrated legend.
Oh, it's crazy.
For sure.
So I kind of see that with Kyrie as well.
Good comp.
So yeah, I'm gonna say he's a sell, as crazy as that sounds. I just don't see the volatility, and I'm only saying it from if you're gonna flip or you're gonna invest. Like, I just don't see that price action is all I'm saying, right? So I'm gonna say he's a sell, unless you run into a really good deal on a high end, RPA or an auto that is a keeper, right? So, but from a base prism perspective, I'm gonna say it's gonna be stagnant for the next 5-6 years.
Right. I'm gonna sell. He's certainly polarizing. I think the tag of kind of like James Harden, poison wherever he goes, selfish, prima donna, all of those things have been used. So he's obviously a polarizing person. But him as a player, man, like if Kyrie just didn't do all of that stuff, his bag, like it's unlimited. He's like an absolutely unbelievable basketball player. I'm gonna say sell. I haven't looked at his prices, but I imagine they have this year have gone up because number one, he's playing again, he's playing well, and the games he plays, he drops 30, 35. I think he had like 2 50-point games recently that probably spiked his card a bit. And now, especially with the announcement that he's going to play home games and people believe the Nets are going to win it all probably because of that, I think it's a great time to sell Kyrie. It's probably going to be a bit of a spike, and it's a good opportunity. If you believe in Kyrie long term, I think you can get back into him in the offseason, but right now I think there's going to be a spike. Bit of hype to come, and it's a good time to sell.
Yep. I just got my Kyrie Irving 2012 Prism PSA submission back. Friggin' came back nice. PSA 9.
Oh.
So, and then I looked up like, okay, it's been about a year, right? So I looked at what PSA 9s go for. $100. And I think
is that up or down?
I paid $100 raw, so it's
okay. Yeah.
So I'm down if you include the grading fee of $20, right? So
right.
And his PSA 10, speaking of his prices, is about $450 right now. So to your point, like it's been kind of stagnant all this time, and maybe it has to do with his off-court antics and like there was a time where you're like, is he even going to play this year, right? That was only a few months ago, and so. So yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to move all that much. Same with you guys. I love watching Kyrie as a player. Like the guy has major skills, very exciting to watch. But in terms of hobby love, it's just not there, generally speaking. So I'm a Celtic. I'm waiting for the Nets to go on a nice playoff run, and I'm unloading my PSA 9 Kyrie.
PSA 9. You're gonna 2x it though, probably.
Hopefully. Let's go Nets.
I think
all
so.
Right. And lastly, number 10. Russell Westbrook, 28th overall.
Yeah, it's an easy sell for me. I'm out. I'm out on Russ. I mean, he had a really good early career. I think he really damaged his legacy over the last few years, and I just don't see Russ getting back into it especially after this year. So for me, I'm a sell. You're going to see the downtrend in his career. So I don't see prices spiking up at all. So I'm a sell for Russell Westbrook.
All right.
Yeah, you guys know how I feel about Russell Westbrook, so I won't get into it. He is run away while you can still get any kind of value. He is 100% sell. Get away from his cards. I don't see it coming back. I think everybody has formed an opinion. Either before he was polarizing and he was poison and he's this and that, and now he's just kind of a bit of a clown show, right? Like you see him doing like air balls off the backboard. He was warming up trying to do a dunk, and he throws the ball over the backboard. Like there's just something about him. He's got the yips now in his shot. Like
it's the worst. And the yips are the worst.
Yeah, at this age, I don't know. You just sell while you can, man. If you can recoup any kind of value, get out.
All right. Or this might be the perfect time to buy. So
Exactly.
no, I'm with you guys. I'm a sell. I'm so glad. The best move I made prior to the NBA season was not pulling the trigger on a Russell Westbrook Topps Chrome rookie card. So that was the best non-move I've made this past year. Yeah, just a disastrous season. I hope, I really hope Russell Westbrook can pull it together for next year. But yeah, it's not looking good.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. When you're 24 years old and you could rebound, like a rebound from that season, I get it. But he's turning 34, and that's what really worries me. I'm just gonna predict that you're gonna see a big time drop off in his stats, in his scoring over the next 3-4 years, like big time. And this is the way usually guys like Dwayne Wade kind of had to go out. It's the same way, right? It's like you just lose the feel, lose the touch. Sure. You scored 30 a game, in your prime, and now it's just unfortunately, time is just not on your side, right? So I think that's exactly where Russell Westbrook is, and on top of that, his cards don't get any love. So
right,
double whammy.
It's a bad combination. Yeah, double whammy, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. So we're in agreement with that. All right. Thanks, guys, for joining us for our second episode this week. We hope you enjoyed the extra episode. And if you have any ideas for, short episodes like this, we'll be glad to hear them. We'll try, as we said before, to publish our second episode a week every other week to begin. And hopefully it could be a weekly thing as we pick up, as we get going in our brand new studio at Hyung's new place soon. So so thanks again for tuning in. As usual, we appreciate any good feedback that you have for us, and give us 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll see you soon. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.